Hello everyone, I am so excited about today's Galatians study because today we get to hear in full what is the good news. We've talked about how Paul is upset that the good news has been turned to bad news, but now we're going to be talking about the actual good news. How exciting is that? So let's jump right in. We're going to go into Galatians chapter 2, verses 19 through something or another. Here we go. Paul says, "For through the law I died to the law, so that I might live for God. I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not set aside the grace of God, for if righteousness could be gained through the law, Christ died for nothing." Whoa, this is such a great passage. This is the good news, everybody. This is the good news. How exciting is this? I love it. Let's unpack this. Here we go. For through the law, I died to the law. What law are we talking about? We're talking about the Mosaic law. I don't know if we've really hit on this quite yet in the Galatians study, but Paul is talking about the Mosaic law. Every time he talks about law in this book, he's talking about the Mosaic law. What is the Mosaic law? The Mosaic law is a fancy way of saying the law that was given to Moses in the desert with the Israelites when they were chosen to be God's chosen people, his chosen nation. And something that Paul brings up later in Galatians, and we're going to get to because it's super awesome, is the difference between the Mosaic law, the law given to Moses, and the Abrahamic law, the law given to Abraham. And which came first? Abraham came first. And Paul says the Mosaic law did not nullify the Abrahamic law at all. As a matter of fact, the Abrahamic law is the one we rely on, and it's the one that Jesus ultimately fulfilled. And that's why, for through the law, I died to the law, because the law, Paul points out, is death. No one could be made righteous through the law. He points that out earlier in Galatians. We didn't get a chance to read that. But he said, now I get to die to the law. How do I die to the law? So that I might live for God. Because I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live is in the body. I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself up for me. This is the good news. This is the good news. I do not set aside the grace of God, for if righteousness could be gained through law, Christ died for nothing. So what Paul is saying here is that he has been crucified with Christ. Therefore, the law is no longer the thing in which he's trying to achieve righteousness through. As a matter of fact, he has found that no righteousness can be gained through the law. Everybody is a law breaker. Again, I encourage you to read all of Galatians. He says that just before this passage. But Christ now lives in him. And Christ, he gives him life in the body so that he can live by faith in the Son of God, who gave himself up for him. This is the good news. This is the good news, and it is grace of God. And the reason Paul has to say this is because people, the bad news had seeped into the church, saying that people, in order to be Christians, in order to be followers of God, a follower of Jesus, they have to be circumcised. And this was just yet another barrier for people to have to try to climb over in order for them to feel like they've been made right with God, in order for them to feel like they have righteous. And people were trying to add these rules and barriers for people so that they can dictate who was righteous and who was not. And Paul says, no, you don't get to do that. For if you can gain righteousness through the law, like through circumcision, then Christ died for nothing. That's bad news. Christ did not die for nothing because he gave us good news. And now we live by the law of grace. The good news is that Jesus gives you righteousness. He allows you to be free without you having to follow any set of rules or commands or anything like that. He gives you freedom. And it is so powerful. And that is the good news, that Jesus allows you to be restored to God free of charge because he died for you. And if there's any other way to get to God, then Christ died for nothing. And that includes a list of rules and behaviors that we say have to be done in order to be a Christian. That is not God. That is not the good news. That is bad news. And that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's Galatians study. If so, say hi in the comments. I'd love to say hi back. See ya.